Like a true Nigerian that Dame Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu was in his lifetime, born in the north, raised in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, and of Eastern origin, whose lifestyle revolved around idiosyncrasies typical to these people, it must have been of great joy and pride to the family members of Ojukwu and indeed the Igbo nation that Ojukwu's burial had a national outlook. With events organized for his final homeward journey spreading around major cities in Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. Zungeru, his birthplace, Calabar, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Owerri, Aba, Abakaliki, Enugu, Awka, the capital of Anambra State, with a final stop at Nnewi, Ojukwu's homestead, which is also home to most of the leading industrialists and entrepreneurs of Eastern extraction, also making waves nationally and internationally. Lagos, where Ojukwu lived during his impressionable teenage years as a secondary school student in King's College, before his sojourn abroad where he garnered very intimidating academic laurels, stood still to remember a pure, undiluted Lagosian who spoke the Yoruba language with impeccable finesse. Tafawa Square, venue for the carnival-like celebration, which featured an impressive array of dignitaries from the high echelon of the society. Igbos from all nooks and crannies of Lagos State and its environs stood up to be counted as they danced, sang, and rejoiced to send forth a great son of the land. A major hallmark of the Lagos celebration of life for the late Ikemba, Nnewi, Diorama, and Agune Chamber of Igbo land were reminiscences of his life and times and contribution to the growth and renaissance of Igbo nation and Nigeria in general. In the final analysis, they all concluded that Dame Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu's contributions to the growth of Nigeria cannot be discussed in whispers because they resonate with a big bang all over the place. The presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, was besieged by hundreds of thousands of Nigerians from different spheres of life, from the very top to the other classes of dignitaries, to pay homage to Ojukwu as his body was brought in from the United Kingdom, dressed in full military attire, with a detachment of the men of the Nigerian army on hand to give him full military honors. Ojukwu has served in many capacities in the Nigerian army as Nigeria's first indigenous quartermaster general and commander of an entire brigade of the Nigerian army, as far back as when the strength of the Nigerian army was only made up of 250 men from 5 battalions alone. The solemn event, which had Nigeria's First Lady, Dame Patience Jonathan, Vice President Namadi Sambo, Senate President David Mark, Speaker House of Representatives Honorable Aminu Bello Tambuwal, and other principal officers of the National Assembly, top hierarchy of the Nigerian Army, members of the Federal Executive Council, and members of different political parties, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and others in attendance, was basically for the rendition of funeral oration in memory of Ojukwu. Chief Mrs. Bianca Ojukwu, wife of the deceased Emeka Ojukwu Jr., and all his other siblings and close family members were also in attendance. After the torrents of eulogies, accolades, and prayers for the repose of Ojukwu's soul by all the speakers, a brief display by the military to send forth a former general of the Nigerian Army followed.
He was a true patriot, committed to the defense of the dignity of man. On behalf of my family, myself, and the entire women of Nigeria, I pay my respects to this man who spent his life and times in the defense of truth, justice, and fairness.
No words can adequately express the nature, character, legacy, and lessons bequeathed by this soldier and gentleman. I believe that the outpour of the encomiums and eulogies cannot stop coming the way of this gentleman, because for everything said about Ojukwu, it was in recognition of his contribution to both his personal as well as professional service to our great nation.
The body of the late Ikemba Nnewi, Dame Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, was then put aboard a Nigerian Army aircraft as it formally began its last journey to the eastern parts of the country, with its initial stop in Owerri, the Imo State capital, which has the symbolic importance of being where Ojukwu formally declared the secession of the East from Nigeria, signaling the beginning of the Nigerian Civil War in 1967. The same scenarios played out in Aba, the commercial capital of Abia State, a place very dear to the heart of the Ikemba Nnewi himself. As has been the story everywhere since the Ikemba phenomenon came to the fore upon his demise, this passage also elicited eulogies and praises across political, ethnic, and religious spectrum of the society. Indeed, Aba demonstrated in every way possible that it was prepared for the very moving send forth organized for the Ikemba Nnewi. The holiday declared and closure of the markets throughout the state were incentives that accelerated the massive turnout experienced. Of course, Abia proved that it is the true home of Igbo cultural heritage, as epitomized by the very traditional send forth benchmarked by rich tradition of the Abia people. Here again, all the speakers eulogized Ikemba in very glowing terms. Ikemba was described as a man who went to war out of his conviction of injustice against his people, not on a self-seeking mission. As a principled, courageous, and patriotic Nigerian, Ojukwu decided to stop the war and join in finding a lasting solution to the hydra-headed problem facing his people. The Civil War stands today as one of the most tragic landmarks of the 20th century, claiming over 2 million people. Ojukwu, whom many see as a source of division of the Nigerian state in his lifetime, has in death become a source of unity.
Ojukwu did a part of his life as the first military governor of Eastern region.
You are one of the best, one of the most loyal, most dedicated officers the Army had ever produced. And I am glad that I speak here before always in my battalion, 5th Battalion Colonel, most of whom are dead today. I speak on your behalf to acknowledge that you, sir, you were one of our best. You gave us leadership. You taught us how to read, how to speak, how to convince our people to follow us. May Almighty God rest you happy.
Odumegwu Ojukwu's dream of equality and a Nigeria where the Igbo own property in the north and the Hausa own property in Abakaliki, where such property would not be destroyed. That was the kind of Nigeria Ojukwu envisaged. Enugu, the capital of Old Eastern Region, where Ojukwu called the shots as the governor, was of great significance and importance to him. Although from Nnewi in Anambra State, he lived in Enugu with his family for most part of his life. After the Civil War and his return from exile, he still made Enugu the central base of his operations at the time. For Ojukwu, there was a sentimental attachment to Enugu, the coal city-state. The government and people of Enugu State, and indeed Igbos from all parts of the country, converged in Enugu to take part in the series of activities put together to give Ikemba Nnewi a befitting send forth. Flagging off the series of activities for Ojukwu's rite of passage in Enugu State was a funeral mass at the Holy Ghost Cathedral, Enugu. Governor Peter Obi and his wife Margaret led other dignitaries at the church service. The sermon preached by the administrator of the Holy Ghost Cathedral, Reverend Father John Nwafo, advocated true federalism as vigorously propounded by the late Ikemba Nnewi as far back as 45 years ago. Reverend Nwafo charged Nigerian leaders to imbibe the quality of service and sacrifice to give Nigeria a secured future. At a public lecture which took place at the Nike Lake Resort Hotel Enugu, former Information Minister Professor Dora Akunyili described Ojukwu as an extraordinary leader who impacted positively on Nigerians. Other events that went on simultaneously with all the series of events lined up for the final rites of passage of Ojukwu included the traditional Ikemba ceremony for titled men in Igbo land. This went on in different parts of the country. One event that had all the trappings of a national and international funeral rites ceremony for Ojukwu took place at the historic Okpara Square in Enugu. The Okpara Square, which wore a brand new captivating look, having been properly prepared for the event well in advance, was venue for the twin ceremonies of the interdenominational service and a special tribute session for the Ikemba Nnewi. Leading the dignitaries was Vice President Mohammed Namadi Sambo, who was accompanied by high-ranking personalities of Southeast extraction in the National Assembly. These included the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Kweremadu, and Deputy Speaker of House of Representatives, Honorable Emeka Ihedioha. There are also ministers mostly from the Southeast region, past and present public office holders, or the governors from the Southeast states, Anambra, Enugu, Abia, Imo, and Ebonyi, were also in attendance. Other governors from Cross Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Rivers also joined their other colleagues. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka was also there. The Emir of Kano, Alhaji Ado Bayero, braved the long distance from Kano to pay homage to a man described as his son. From the international community, former President Jerry Rawlings of Ghana was there to pay a lasting tribute to a friend of his of long standing. Highlights of the twin events were the heralding and the ushering of Ojukwu's body by the military as the whole arena stood in respect to the dead. The solemn service featured a number of soul-inspiring songs rendered by the Laze Kweme Choir. Passages were read from the Holy Bible by Ebele Odumegwu Ojukwu and Senator Ben Obi, Special Advisor to the President on Inter-Party Affairs. The homily was administered by the Catholic Bishop of Enugu. The sermon was preached by Bishop Emmanuel Chukwuma, the Anglican Bishop of Enugu Diocese. He eulogized Ojukwu's heroic strides while alive, which is why he said the whole world is celebrating him today. Bishop Okonkwo said that the overwhelming reactions to Ojukwu's death from every part of the world should remind all of us that we can only be remembered by our good or bad deeds, or we might have left this sinful world. Bishop Chukwuma ended the sermon by requesting that the federal government should name a number of institutions or monuments after to keep his name in our minds perpetually.
The Holy Spirit will come down, Nigeria shall be saved.
There were more songs by the Laze Kweme Choir before the service ended, yielding way to the tribute session for Ojukwu. The tribute session began with the opening remarks by Chairman of the occasion, retired Commodore Bito Kiwe. This was followed by the remarks of the Chairman of the Ojukwu National Burial Committee, retired Honorable Justice Chukwudifo Oputa. This paved the way for the tribute session proper. Those that spoke about Ikemba Nnewi Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu included Chairman of Nigeria Governors Forum and Governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Chibuike Amechi, Chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, Peter Obi of Anambra State, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyoko, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka, General Yakubu Gowon, who was represented, and former President Rawlings of Ghana. The host governor, Barrister Sullivan Iheanacho Chime, also paid special tribute to Ikemba Nnewi. They all urged Nigerians not to continue to brood over the demise of Ikemba Nnewi, but to use the lessons of his life to forge a stronger Nigeria where no one is more superior or less inferior to the other, a place where there will be equal opportunities for all.
All his entire life,
Emeka Ojukwu was nimble and dedicated to the pursuit of excellence in whatever he engaged himself. He was an accomplished socialite and raconteur, a witty administrator, a consummate soldier, an astute politician, and an unmistakable patriot.
There was the touch of the uncommon and sometimes the unprecedented in everything he did and had put his hand to. His background, education, lifestyle, national service, both civil and military, leadership, his courage, his politics, his activism, and so on. Ojukwu was born a king, lived like a king, and died a king.
Being governor of Eastern Nigeria, by virtue of authority and custom, to the principles decided above, do hereby solemnly proclaim that the territory and region known as and called Eastern Nigeria, together with high continental shelf and territorial waters, shall henceforth be an independent sovereign state of the name to the capital of the Republic of Biafra.
One thing we must not forget as a people is to remain steadfast in its legacy by striving to build an all-inclusive society for which we struggled and died for, and build a nation for which both the rich and the poor have a space to survive. We must be able to provide a nation that Ojukwu will smile in his death.
The Vice President, Architect Mohammed Namadi Sambo, who delivered the President's address at the occasion, enumerated the qualities that stood Ojukwu out for the special recognition being accorded him by the federal government and everyone. These, according to him, included his hatred for injustice and the burning desire for the betterment of his country. The Vice President advised all Nigerians to imbibe the true Nigerian spirit exhibited by Ojukwu. He prayed for the repose of his soul.
Ojukwu has played a significant role in Nigeria's return to democracy since 1999, the Fourth Republic. He had contested as presidential candidate of his party, the All Progressive Grand Alliance, Awka, for the last 3 of the 4 elections. Until his illness, he remained the party leader. The party was in control of 2 states in the largely influential among Igbo ethnic area of Nigeria.
The final aspect of the tribute session was the laying of the wreath by all the dignitaries, beginning with the Vice President and all the governors present at the special event.
He loved his country, Nigeria, and strived to make her great. Today, Nigeria has stood up for my father. Daalunu, Osheu, Nagodi. May the Almighty God guide you all safely back to your destinations. Thank you all.
St. Michael's Catholic Church, Umudim, Nnewi, close to the Ojukwu family home in Anambra State of Nigeria, played host to the High and the Mighty in Nigeria on Friday, 2nd March 2012. Here, a requiem mass that preceded the interment of Dame Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu was held. President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife Patience Goodluck Jonathan, Mrs. Helen David Mogg, wife of the Senate President, led other dignitaries like the governors of Ebonyi, Anambra and Delta states to the event, as well as past and present public office holders, especially from the southeastern part of Nigeria. The service began as the body of Ojukwu was ushered into the church in a military fashion, with everyone on their feet in deference to the dead. The service, which followed the strict Catholic tradition, observed a lot of hymn rendition and Bible reading. Special prayers were said for the congregation, Nigeria, and the family of the late Ikemba Nnewi by the presiding prelate and Catholic Bishop of Nnewi, Most Reverend Dr. Hilary Okeke. In his sermon, the retired Catholic Bishop of Olo, retired Reverend Gregory Ochaga, urged the people to pray for Ojukwu because he lived a just and selfless life. He hoped Ojukwu's exit will bring forth a new generation of Nigerians who will shun corruption and greed, the twin cankerworm warring us which Ojukwu fought till his death. Governor Peter Obi of Anambra State urged Nigerian leaders to do things which will be in the overall interest of the people. Governor Obi praised President Goodluck Jonathan for the exceptional step he has taken in giving Ojukwu a national burial. Governor Obi said through this singular action by President Jonathan, Ndi Igbo will feel less marginalized and excluded in the affairs of Nigeria. President Goodluck Jonathan said that the late Ikemba Nnewi was a God-sent leader to lead his people. He said Ojukwu's vision was beyond the understanding of his contemporaries. The president said that he decided to pay Ojukwu a well-deserved last respect as a fitting tribute to a statesman of great standing. President Jonathan said that even with his failing health at the time when his father died some years ago, he still visited him in his village, and that touched him.
Ojukwu is one of those who brought by God to lead the people. It's like journey home. We had a program in the United States, north of Nigeria, where I was born. We had a program in Lagos, the southwest. And of course, the burial took around the whole of the south. Ordinary have gone through the whole Eastern region. Thank you for this moment. Myself, my wife, my family, and my thank the Igbos for their support for us.
With the final commendation followed the sprinkling of the coffin containing the remains of Ojukwu with holy water and incense, with songs in the background. Ojukwu's body was taken out of the church to its final resting place just inches away from the church. The remains of Dame Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu were interred in the marble mausoleum at his ancestral Umudim home in Nnewi, Anambra State at exactly 2:18 p.m. on Friday, 2nd March 2012. As the body of Ojukwu was lowered, emotions took the better part of his widow, Chief Bianca Ono, who was helped by the wives of Anambra and Imo State governors, Mrs. Margaret Obi and Mrs. Nkechi Okorocha. The burial rites followed strict military tradition. After Ojukwu's interment, traditional and cultural displays were staged as more people came to register their condolence with the Ojukwu. Bianca Ono, the widow of Ojukwu, and Emeka Ojukwu Jr. received all those who came to sympathize with them. The expansive compound of the Ojukwus in Umudim, Nnewi, Anambra State was turned into another huge carnival to celebrate the fall of the Iroko and legend who live on in the minds of all those whose path he crossed in his eventful and most fulfilled life. Adieu, Dame Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, the people's journal and the true Nigerian. Kachukwu na mkpụrụ obi gị na ndokwa. Allah jikanka, alonkoba tesi afefe rere o.